Hey guys, Ron Lyons, the Tactical Redneck here, and I'm out here on the ranch today, and I'm going to kind of take you with me because I thought it'd be a real good opportunity for us to talk a little bit while I get all of the ranch chores done today. That means I'm going to be feeding cattle, horses, donkeys, pigs, ducks, you name it. We've got all the above. But right now, there's stuff going on in the world that is literally beyond comprehension. And I never thought in all of my years, and that's nearly 60 right now, it would come to the day and age where we've got so much hatred and so much division out there. And I'm not gonna get on political sides. I've made it very, very clear. I'm a conservative. I'm a Trump supporter. Big believer in Second Amendment. I'm an America First constitutionalist. So, that being said, and just get that out of the way right now. So I assume that you share a lot of my values and a lot of my ideas. And you may not love everything that I love, and you may not dislike everything that I dislike. But that's what makes America so awesome, is that we should be entitled to have differing points of view and still be able to get along in this country. Unfortunately, the way it is these days, if you dislike somebody or disagree with them, apparently you have to hate them. Put labels on them, call them names, and it's just absolutely getting out of hand. So in the old days, prepping meant things like waiting on a nuclear bomb or some sort of catastrophic event like that. These days, it's very, very different. Now, those old things are still there. There's still always that possibility. Not only is there the possibility of some sort of a nuclear attack or something, just like there has been, it's changed a little bit more in the sense that now you could even have a terrorist attack on our soil. You could have economic downturns. You could have things like pandemics. You can have civil unrest like what we see in Minnesota right now. So there's a whole different world out there right now. And so it's kind of redefined what being a prepper means. So I've done more than my fair share of videos on, how to put together a bug out bag, and I still do, and I still will, because I think things like that are important. But I think that it's also important that we acknowledge this different world that we live in right now and be prepared in all ways to meet any of the possibilities that may come up in this crazy ass new world that we're in. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, that could mean a lot of different things. Specifically right now, and I'm just going to say pandemic because we don't know when another one of those may come up. You need to be prepared for stuff like that now. It also may mean that you live in a more of a area close to a big city, and civil unrest may be something that changes your daily life, makes you not be able to go to the store, not be able to, communicate possibly. We just don't know. We don't know what those possibilities are. But what we do know is that being prepared for all of those eventualities, those possibilities, is the best way to go. It's the best way to be, to address anything and everything that could possibly come up. Now, there's a lot of people out there right now that say that we are on the verge right now of civil war. And I'm personally a little torn on that. I am not believing that war is going to break out any day or anything like that. But I understand that the people who feel that way largely because hostilities and animosity and anger and all of those things are running at all-time highs right now. And if we had clearly, established boundaries like north and south in certain states that, went on each side of that boundary line, then yeah, we would be in a civil war right now. But we don't have that. In the case of today, we're literally, one neighbor feels one particular way and the next door neighbor feels completely different. So two opposing ideologies, two very, very, very diametrically opposed, beliefs in the different political parties and your next door neighbors. So it's very, very different now. So no, I don't think that we're literally about to break out in an old-fashioned North versus South Civil War, but I do think that the net result of all of those hostilities, all of that anger and all of that stuff, that toxic stuff that's going on, you see it every day online, is making people hate people. They're making people dislike people, not giving benefit of the doubt. And that means that we're living in a world where those hatreds, those feelings, those animosities, all of that stuff can manifest itself in a very physical way. So you may not have to go fight on a skirmish line with your musket, but you very well could be in a situation where your community is in mass chaos. That is absolutely possible. So it seems like our entire world is changing for the worse. It's not getting better. I don't think that all of a sudden we're going to start having peace and everybody's going to start getting along and some big kumbaya thing is going to happen. So if you imagine as chaotic and crazy as the world is literally right now and think that it could probably get worse than it is right now, just imagine where it's headed. And then imagine yourself, your family, the people you care about, whomever that is, and imagine how you fit into that more chaotic, more troubled, more afflicted and toxic world. Now we're starting to think ahead. Now we're starting to look to the future and say, what do I need to change? What do I need to adapt in order to fit in this really, really awful place that's definitely right on the horizon? So if you can imagine that the economy is probably going to get worse, political tensions are going to get much, much worse, and we're very, very likely to continue to see things like pandemics and things like that happen in the future, then you have to wonder, what do I do to be prepared for that? I mean, my bug out bag isn't going to handle most of those situations. It's just not. And I'm certainly not advocating for any sort of violence or anything like that. Don't misunderstand me. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I hope that we never have any violence whatsoever. I hope that we never deteriorate to the point in this country where that's even a possibility. But you're foolish and naive if you don't believe that although you may not go looking for violence, violence may come looking for you. Or you may find yourself in a financial situation that you never planned for. You may find yourself just trying to find milk and bread and water for your family, just based on any of these things that could happen. And so that changes things. And that is the first step. The first step is acknowledging kind of where we're at, where we're likely headed, and then starting to envision where and how you and your family and the people you love fit into that. So now you're probably like, okay, all right, Ron, we get it. The world's going to get worse, and we need to be prepared for these different things that may be coming up. May be prepared in ways that we're not used to being prepared for. So what exactly do we do about them? And I'll tell you this. Nobody has the market cornered on exactly what you should do, but there's some basics, some ideas, things that we're really good at that you should make sure are in place right now. One example would be we're all really good at making sure that we've got extra rations, extra food, water, things like that on hand. But unfortunately, this world that we live in changes so often that we find ourselves as people who tend to prep and get ready for these disasters, these world events and stuff like that. We tend to be focused on that. And so we do everything that we're supposed to do. We collect the food, we collect the water, we get all of our medications, and we do all of our preparedness stuff. And then time goes by, nothing crazy happens, and before you know it, we're digging into those food supplies or pulling those cases of water out and utilizing those in our daily life. And then something will happen. You'll watch a video like this, or some world event will happen, and then you kind of go back the other way. So it's capitulation, it's back and forth, it's being online, on guard, on point, and then backing off again, and then finding yourself having to renew all of those things and get yourself back to the state of readiness that you really should have never left. So here's the thing. It's super, super important right now that you do those basics that you're really good at. Rebuild your food supply. Replenish all of your water. Get all of your things that you might need, your medical supplies, medication, any and all of those things. And this time, make a plan to put them in place and to keep them in place. Don't get lazy like we all do, including myself at times, and back off on that. And before you know it, you've got almost none of those supplies that you might need if everything really did get really ugly right in your area. And right now, that could happen at any time. Literally, the civil unrest stuff, the pandemic possibilities, the financial situation that's going on with all of the tariffs and the way that our world markets are so interconnected, it could literally happen anytime. So, number one, figure out what you need to pull together to be secure in these ways, these basic ways that we're really good at in your home. That means the financial resources, that means the medications, that means the water, that means the food, that means the protection systems, all of those things. And let's get all of those together. There's step number one right there. And I'm a very, very big believer that this is no longer the kind of situation where we can be the sole person in our family that considers these things, thinks about them, and worries about them. I think now it's very important that you have other family members who also are trained and have knowledge about things like prepping, self-defense, and all of those sorts of things. Everything that might come into play in the event that this world as we know it starts to fall apart. So that means probably your wife, your brother, your kids, trusted neighbors, good friends. It's time to have those conversations and start helping everybody understand exactly what it is that we might face that becomes a greater threat every single day, and help everybody start to get on the same page with that. You remember the good old days when it was really easy to be called a nut job, a crazy person, or whatever, a doomsday, doom and gloom person, all that. Well, I'm guilty of that. back in the Y2K situation, my dad was probably one of the original preppers that I ever knew. He had all of his food and his 50-gallon drums of water. And I was in law enforcement, and I thought I had a different perspective than him. And I was like, I'll see this coming, and we don't need all this stuff. And turns out that we didn't. Thankfully, Y2K came and went, and nothing crazy or chaotic happened. Well, the whole doom and gloom thing just didn't come to pass. So, situations like that make it where it's easy to label preppers, people with a tactical mindset or a survival instinct, as nut jobs, doomsday people, and all that doom and gloom. You're going to have to kind of get past that a little bit. You're going to get called lots of names. And still fulfill your mission to be ready for some of these awful things should they come to pass. And then guess what? You're not going to be that nut job crazy person. You're going to be the hero. Until then, you're just going to have to endure that just a little bit. But I think if you have those conversations with the people in your life, that this could also affect, and explain to them that you're not trying to come across that way. You're not trying to be, like a crazy person thinking the world's about to end tomorrow. And help them understand that in this new world that we live in, that all of these things we never thought possible before are literally unfolding right before our eyes. You do that, and I think you're going to pull people on board with at least a certain level of readiness that's going to make your situation, when it comes time to engage in that survival mode, a whole lot better, a whole lot easier. Because while they may not be fully prepared, at least they're going to be somewhat prepared. And they're going to at least have given a little bit of thought to this ahead of time. Now, let me give you just a tiny little bit of advice, maybe a word of warning about just that very thing too. It's also very easy in this culture of being a prepper, a survivalist, a person with a tactical mindset, whatever you want to call it. It's very easy to literally go too far. It is possible to start believing that the world's all going to end tomorrow or something like that, and that is critically unhealthy. Unless you have evidence or knowledge that is verifiable, not some talking head on YouTube, not somebody like me who does YouTube videos and needs clicks, but somebody has given you credible information that something is truly impending. You see it for yourself. Your knowledge, your experience says, hey, this is coming up. Well, then in that case, it's probably time to start going extra and, really, really digging down on being prepared. Maybe even instituting certain things. And I can give you 1,000 examples, but I don't want to bore you with that. But if you know that, a certain percentage of people in the workplace or at school or whatever have this new whatever it is going around, you may decide not to go into work, or you may decide not to send your kid to school or something like that. If you know that there's a bill about to, pass in Congress that's going to limit, certain types of ammunition or something like that, and you need that because you don't have it right now, then maybe it's time to go stock up on that. But in a normal sense, you want to always be very, very mindful that you don't go too far when there's not something like that going on. You want to be healthily prepared, okay? I don't even know if healthily is a word, but you want to be prepared to a healthy level. You don't want to go out there and be super extreme. And I hope that you're not a person who does that. But if you are, it's a great opportunity right now to say, all right, In all of these things, I'm always going to approach them with a very rational mindset. And you have to ask yourself sometimes, if you feel the urge to go out there and, buy 12,000 MREs, is this rational? Do I just need this many instead? So think about it from the sense of being very, very rational and protecting your own mental health as you consider these things. Don't let it get to you. Don't let it drive you too far. Don't let it do those things. That's not what this is all about. There is a fine line between being healthy and doing what we're supposed to do in order to be safe and prepared, etc., and raw paranoia. So do not cross that line. Don't go over to the side of paranoia. That's not going to help you, and that's certainly not going to help anyone around you, because they're just going to say, oh, that's so-and-so, and you know how he is. So you're doing a disservice to yourself, your emotional health, your mental health, and you're certainly making other people feel like, there's never going to be any reality to this stuff, because, when whatever it was coming up, when the Mayan calendar said everything was going to end, on this certain day, you went out and did all this crazy stuff, and then the world didn't end. Well, guess what? The next time something comes up that might be legitimate, they're not going to listen to you. So think about that. And more importantly, if you're a survivalist, if you're a person that's prepping, think about your own mindset. That is so, so important. You want your mental health. You don't want to let these things degrade or go to a point to where you are no longer mentally capable of doing the things that you need to do for self-preservation and for the preservation of your family and the people that you love. Now, one of the things that you don't hear an awful lot about from people like me who do videos like this is the need to grow your knowledge base, to get smarter with this stuff, to educate yourself even more than what you already know. So people will teach you how to make a bug out bag, they'll teach you how to start a fire, and how to set up shelter and things like that. But what they don't do is say, now gain more knowledge, learn even more, cover all of the bases that you possibly can, read everything, absorb everything, watch all the videos, and increase that knowledge. Don't just get to the point to where you feel like, okay, well, I built me a bug out bag and I'm good now. Build that, but continue to educate yourself. See if there's places for improvement, things that you don't know, things that you didn't realize when you first did it. Technologies change, options change, situations and environments, all those things are always in a state of change. And you can either pick a point and stand right there, stick your flag in the ground and say, hey, I know how to build a bug out bag, I'm good. And your knowledge is from 1.5 years or 2 years ago. Or you can keep adapting to all of the new things that are out there. There's new fire starters, new knives, new things that are out there for water filtration that 2 years ago weren't even on the market. They weren't even available. So you've got to continually grow in your knowledge and adapt with all of the stuff that's coming online, coming on the market, getting out there for us to actually leverage and utilize, and making sure that we are prepared the way we need to be. So it is a very, very different world out there right now, and the possibilities and the likelihood of you actually needing to respond, to engage, I would say have gone up significantly from just even, 10 years ago. It's a whole different situation out there right now. And so you've got to think about your own environment that you're in. I'm very rural where I'm at. I'm not going to have to worry about any protests or looters, rioters, anything like that. But I do have to worry about things like I'm so far out that I might need more transportation in order to get to a place where there's resources or something like that than, say, you might in a more urban area. So the considerations are different depending on where you're at. You've got to assess your environment and the likelihoods of the different types of obstacles, hardships, failures in the systems, etc., that would be very unique to your own environment, where you're at, and what you would likely face. Now, another super important step in being sure that you're prepared in this more hostile, crazy, and ever-changing world is to do a true assessment of your own environment and the types of things that you would face. And I literally mean that. We get a little out of balance sometimes because, we all learned, the need for fire and for water and all of these things, right? And we're all really, really good at that. You've probably got a ferro rod, and you've probably got tinder, and you've got fire starter, and you've got redundancy. You've got all of those things, and those are critical. By all means, they're critical. I'm not saying to do away with those things, those concepts, or any of that stuff at all. I'm just saying that where you live, the environments you're in, when you're at work, when you're at home, where you're, commuting back and forth, things like that, you may need something else way more than you might need the ability to start a fire. So I'm not saying get rid of that. You don't need to leave 50 comments down below about, oh, I disagree with you. We need that. Okay, I know. I agree, we do. And you may need something else that's very unique to your environment. So part of what I'm saying, how do we get ready? The question, how do we get ready for this? What do we do to prep for all of this changing world stuff? Is spend some time, some legitimate time, assessing your situation, your environment, the types of things that you would probably face, and making your own customized list of the things that you might need, and then building on that list over time. Because your situation is going to be very unique. There may be some overlap with something like my situation, but my situation is going to be very different than the person who lives close to, say, a very large, very dense downtown area. So although there's some overlap, he needs the fire stuff, he needs the water purification, he needs the food resources, as do I. But he's going to need things like he might have a whole lot of use for like a commercial water key for a building, a high rise in downtown to turn on water in a commercial building. Whereas I don't have a commercial building anywhere near me. Having one of those little water keys for me is probably never going to be a useful item. So think about your situation, write it out, make an assessment, and then you're going to love the fact that you can go back and forth with that original list and modify and adapt it, and you'll get so much peace of mind from having done that. So give that a shot. That's one of the things that I think is critical in how you can prepare for all of this stuff. One of the things that I'm going to say about how we can be ready for all of this new world, all of this chaos and stuff that's going on might just surprise you. Because it's not doing something like mapping out your environment and making a list or continuing your education. It's not that stuff. But instead, it's making a conscientious decision to not participate in all of this division and stuff that's going on now. And what I mean specifically is social media has got us just all kinds of messed up now. We treat each other so poorly out there these days. It's so easy to sit behind a keyboard and go out there and thrash and trash somebody that doesn't agree with you. And so what I would say is this: if we agree that this is a problem in the world, and if we're taking it so seriously that we feel like we need to adapt and improvise and come up with, new means of being ready for all of this, being prepared, then one thing that we can do just as good people within our own communities is not participate in all of the toxicity, all of the nastiness. I think that's just like super, super important. Somebody wants their food here. You want your food, buddy? This is what happens when you film a video while you're doing your chores. But I truly believe what I said. I think we've got to stop being a part of the problem. Start becoming more of peacemakers and not instigators. And I'm just like you probably, in the sense that I have had enough of some of the nonsense and the craziness in this world, and it seems like sometimes the only defense mechanism we have is to go out there on social media and blast these people and argue and make our points. But we need to be careful with that, because before too long, if you participate in that, then you literally become the very thing that you can't stand. Something to think about. I guess what I'm saying is it's a different world than what we are used to, and it's changing quickly. We have forces at play out there now in society that are completely different. It's like when the terrorist attacks happened, or when the pandemic happened. Those were completely new to us. We had never seen anything on the scale of which both of those horrific things happened. And that's kind of where we have to learn and grow and adapt, because we don't know what the next thing is on the horizon. All we can do is our very, very best to prepare for what may be on the horizon. And there's certain things at play in society right now that make this world very different and necessitate that we do everything we know how to do in order to be prepared. So anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out today with me as I was working around the ranch out here and kind of having this little discussion. I appreciate it very much. You guys absolutely rock. We are on our way back from being canceled. If you're not familiar with that story, it's all over the place, but we were a very large company serving the needs of preppers, survivalists, law enforcement, military, etc. And believe it or not, we got taken down by a t-shirt that cancel culture didn't like. So every single time you like a video or comment or share or purchase a t-shirt or something like our tactical redneck ball cap right here, something like that, every time you do that, it helps us kind of continue to give the middle finger to cancel culture. And we appreciate that very, very much. It's only because of you guys that we're able to do what we do. And we're not the best at it. We're just normal people out here doing the best we can. So we appreciate you, we respect you, and hope that we can avoid getting canceled again. We're doing our best to do that. But, in a world where they cancel everything from, syrup to pancake mix to rice and butter and everything else because they don't like the labeling or the name or something like that, then hey, anything's possible, right? Anyways, guys, it's tacticalredneck.com. We have a whole ecosphere out there, lots and lots of things for you to be involved in. A Facebook page, a Facebook group. We've got a thing called Tactical Redneck School where we provide a whole lot more of training and education, stuff like that. And we're definitely on our way back. So thank you for being a part of it. We look forward to seeing you on the next video. Until then, though, guys, stay safe and God bless.